I really liked Rock's speech about Davy Jones and Joy Boy seemingly confirming that they're two different people, but like Larry said, who knows? But all that sparked a lot of conversation in the One Piece community that Luffy and Blackbeard will have to team up to defeat Emu. I am not of that belief. I am so adamantly against that thought process. I would hate it so very much. And as I was pointed out when I was crashing out about that notion in the spoiler chat, that I feel that way because it is an actual possibility because of how the hell are we going to defeat Emu? Blackbeard would need to take away his devil fruits, and Luffy would be able to use the haki necessary, potentially, with the devil fruit that he has to hurt Emu. And while I agree that it is feasible, plausible even, I just would hate it so much. I'm so against it. To me, Luffy and Blackbeard need to have an antagonistic relationship no matter what. And while I have no issue with both of them doing battle with Emu at different points to fulfill the inherited wills of both Joy Boy and Davy Jones, respectively, I personally feel like them fighting together is against almost everything we've seen in the show. Yes, Luffy teamed up with Crocodile and Marineford, but that was after he had already kicked Crocodile's ass for what he was doing to Vivi and his friends on Alabasta. For Luffy and Blackbeard to team up before an epic showdown like that between the two of them just would not sit well with me personally. So I don't know if you guys feel the same thing about that or not, but I can't bring my mind there for real. Like, I really can't.
You gotta stop loving Blackbeard so much, bro.
No, I need him to fight.
That's what I know.
I need him to fight. I need him to get his ass kicked, bro.
I think you placing too much importance on Blackbeard being this end game for Luffy that you're not seeing.
I don't want them to be teaming up to fight him, bro. And beyond that, even just how Luffy is as a character, if them two dudes are in the same room, he's swinging on Blackbeard. I don't think he'd be like, yo, for the fate of the world, let me swing on Emu and work with Blackbeard. That's not Luffy. He's told us 1,000 times, I'm not a hero. I'm gonna do what I want to do at all times. Ace was on the chopping block, and he was still down to fight Blackbeard in the moment. I'm sorry, yo, I can't see it, bro.
My bad, yo. Your event of trauma started 38 years ago. Meanwhile, the world has been plagued by Emu for the past 900 to 800 years.
My point is, you're asking Luffy to be like, you know what, y'all right. 900, 800. That's not Luffy.
Yes.
That's not who he is. That's not the character we've been reading about. He's not going to be like, oh, y'all right. These 900 years are more important than what I feel right now in the moment. That's not Luffy.
My brother, you got to think bigger.
You're asking Luffy to think bigger.
His dream is bigger. Seb, his dream is to be the freest person on the sea, and the person that stops him from doing that is Emu.
And he'll deal with Emu when the time comes.
You gotta understand the story is bigger than Blackbeard. It's always been bigger than Blackbeard. 900 years to 800 years of suffering. Even then, we just talking about the second world. The whole first world, 3,000 years ago, is what we're talking about. We're not talking about some random dude that waited on a ship because his daddy and mommy got murked by celestial dragons 38 years ago, and now all of a sudden they got the Yami fruit. And he's similar to Luffy. We talking about Luffy's dream, and whoever is being the person of adversity to that dream. And this is the person that Oda is setting up to say, hey, this is bigger than even Luffy to a degree, but Luffy has to step up to that point in order to eradicate him, whether he wants to, regardless of not. Blackbeard isn't important enough to be put to that pedestal ever. The story is bigger than Blackbeard, dog.
I'm not saying it's not.
But that's why Luffy and him have to combine their efforts.
No, they don't. I don't think they do. I think we need to get to a point where Luffy can defeat Emu.
Blackbeard won't be able to do it by himself. Luffy won't be able to do it by themselves. Dragon's not going to be able to do it by themselves. We're seeing that the Yonko in their prime wouldn't be able to do it by themselves. Roger, knowing the One Piece wasn't able to do it by himself, he could have asked for help.
But the point of the story is that Luffy's going to surpass all of these forces by the end of the story. All of them.
But how does Luffy do that?
That means Roger, that means Whitebeard, that means Rocks, that means Joy Boy.
How does Luffy do that?
By fighting people, by getting stronger.
Absolutely not.
What you mean?
What did Mihawk say during Marineford? What was Luffy's strongest power?
Bringing people to him.
Bingo.
That didn't include Blackbeard.
Why not?
I mean, that would be the biggest testament to that.
Why not?
But I wasn't including Blackbeard.
Why not? Why wouldn't that include Blackbeard?
They gotta fight. Luffy and Blackbeard gotta fight. That team up is nonsense.
Your love for Blackbeard is hindering you, my brother.
No, it's not.
It really is.
No, it's not. Y'all's thought on Emu is just different than my thought on Emu.
What?
It is.
What are we reading?
It is. End of the day, as strong as Emu is, as strong as he seems to be, his temperament, how he responds to things, his fear in general of anybody coming up, how he acts, how he responds, how he does these things, he acts more similarly to the Orochis of the world than to the actual standard One Piece top tier.
And what does that matter?
It matters in a show about willpower and conviction. Because when the strongest first legendary pirate in the world tied a hockey knot and let it go, Imu felt it and dropped to his knees sweating in pain and fear.
Who's dead?
He is dead.
Okay,
but
so
again,
who lost?
But Joy Boy did.
Okay.
But again, if Luffy's meant to surpass not just him, surpass Roger, Shanks, all of these people, that means there will be a time where Luffy can do a hockey knot beyond even that, where he doesn't need the assistance of a Blackbeard and the cheating, scheming way of taking away somebody's power. Luffy is meant to overcome Imu using his hockey. He's not gonna do it the way Blackbeard does it by yammying the thing away. That is the Blackbeard way. That's the cheater way.
Okay.
Luffy's meant to surpass all of these people and not have to rely on that type of stuff to win.
Okay.
That's the point. That's what Luffy's supposed to represent.
Okay.
So again, if he's going to get to that level, why am I teaming up with my arch nemesis to help me fight this dude using the cheating method?
You wanna know why?
Why?
Was Odin able to do it by himself?
No, he wasn't.
Okay, was Rox able to do it by himself?
No, he wasn't.
Okay, so on that mural,
not
that's
the
on
same.
Elbaf, is Luffy doing it by himself? Fighting evil by himself?
But where's Blackbeard on the mural, Larry? He's not on the mural.
When it comes to the story of One Piece, Oda has always told us narratively that it's going to take more than just you in order to accomplish something. Odin was an example, Rox is now an example. When it comes to Luffy, his greatest power is bringing people together from all areas of the world. That was proven through Marineford when Mihawk said that it was his strongest power. So for you to say that Blackbeard is not going to be able to come together with Luffy in order to combat Imu and defeat him, that's preposterous. Even if Luffy gets to the point of Joy Boy level, he's still lost, dog.
And Luffy will surpass him.
Luffy surpassing him is not going to be through his strength alone.
That's fine. Even if that's the case, why does Blackbeard need to be included in those people? Because of Davy Jones as well? No. I have thousands of people that can help me in my war against Imu. Why would Blackbeard be one of my guys here in this moment?
Because it's not Luffy versus Imu. It's Imu versus the world and Luffy.
But it's Luffy versus Blackbeard and Luffy versus Imu. We need both. That's what I'm saying.
He's not bigger than Imu. You're putting Blackbeard on the same pedestal as Imu. You're saying that he's just as important as Imu, where he's not as important.
I'm not saying he's as important.
Yes.
I'm saying he needs to fall before Imu.
Your love for the fight that you want between Blackbeard and Luffy is blinding you. I'm telling you.
I don't think so. I genuinely don't think it would be good writing for them to team up. You can't build to a climax between two characters for so long and then switch this drastically to them coming together to fight a stronger opponent for the sole purpose that the guy is just too strong to deal with alone or too strong to deal with without the team up. That's not good enough to me.
And the thing is too, you're looking at the strongest people in the show, and if you want to say Blackbeard is of that stature, look what just happened with Imu and the strongest people of that era where Rox existed. They weren't able to do anything. Why? Because how you always say Blackbeard he has hacks. Unfortunately, that hacks is probably going to be needed against Imu in order to take them down.
I disagree. Yeah, I can't in the same breath tell me hockey over everything and then tell me Blackbeard's needed to defeat Imu. That can't work. It doesn't work that way.
But
either the hockey is what's gonna be what wins the fight, or devil fruits are the same. You can't have it both ways.
Hold on. But Imu's whatever they are is going to require more than just hockey. Oda straight up told us this by the combined attack. He said, yo, whatever Imu is, regardless of what you may think, hockey is the end all be all. But we need more than that in order to fight it. And if we want to even go into further discussion, Imu might be similar to Top Musica. And we know that hockey wasn't enough to defeat that because you needed some special, you need to be on this side and this side in order to beat Top Musica.
And also matters the narrative of how it turns out, because Blackbeard has more of a reason to fight and go after Imu than Luffy does. Imu attacked his family specifically and tried to take him out and kind of almost succeeded. Blackbeard was a child during that moment. So I don't know if he remembers everything, but he's seen it. And he actually saw what happened.
Put it this way, and I just thought about this. It's stated that when Poseidon exists, Joy Boy exists. And Joy Boy needs Poseidon. Joy Boy himself couldn't win by himself. Like, he needed something external instead of internal. I'm pretty sure Joy Boy could have just trained his hockey up if he wanted to, right? Like, there had to be somebody of considerable strength that he could have blossomed somehow in order to overcome Emu. So it just proved even further with the One Piece that if Poseidon needs to exist when Joy Boy exists in order to create this prophecy to overturn Emu, then obviously there's something more that instead of just your own strength.
But that can still just be your allies. Blackbeard's not gonna be a Luffy ally. That's my issue.
But again, Oda kind of did something already in God Valley. Did they all come in agreement, or we're gonna fight Emo, or they just did it? Did Rox and Garp and Roger all say, let's all attack Emo? No, they just saw an enemy that really powerful, saw it look crazy, and they all just attacked it. It wasn't a coincide alliance, it just happened.
You're right, but none of them have the antagonistic relationship with each other that
is
Luffy
true.
and Blackbeard have.
Which is true. We don't know fully Rox and Roger's history like that. Oda never clarified that. We just know that unironically, they had beef for whatever reason. That's all we know, Sebastian.
I'm sorry, my brother. Like, I know you love Blackbeard, and I know what he means to you in One Piece, but like, I truly think you're off on this one, dog. Just recognizing what Emu is and what Emu has meant to the world and what the story has revolved around and why Sun God Nika was even created was probably because of this individual. And again, Joy Boy lost. Like, Joy Boy had the ancient kingdom who was far more advanced than any other civilization ever, and he still lost.
And Luffy won't.
I actually agree with Sebastian.
Thank you, Walt. Thank you.
From what I've seen with the show, I don't see Luffy teaming up with Blackbeard. Like, if you want to go like, similarly, like how he teamed up with Kid and Law. Because Law, he had more of a friendly relationship, but with Kid, he didn't have more of a rivalry. The relationship between Luffy and Black were different. It is different, like, because all the ones that Luffy did team up in the past that had that type of relationship, Luffy did beat. If Luffy did beat Blackbeard, maybe, but even if that was the case, he had team up, I wouldn't like it. To me, Luffy wants to fight his battles one-on-one. Kaido, he got a little bit of help and everything, but ultimately, he wanted Zoro to go down. He wanted everyone else to go down separate. He wanted Kaido to fight one-on-one. I want him to keep that same energy with Emu. To me, the fate is between Nika and Emu. We know there's something there, and we know there's something between Joy Boy and Emu, right? And then Davy and Emu. There's something there. Luffy may not have the Davy Jones side of it because that's Blackbeard, but the other two, Luffy does have. Joy Boy, he's Nika. And I think what's needed, the Nika fruit or whatever, needed to take on Emu. And I do believe, like Sebastian said, even though I fight back that Luffy's not there now, but he should be the one that surpasses Roger, Rox, Joy Boy, all of that. He is that child for whatever reason. Oda had him in his case that he's reaching this level also very, very young. This dude is 19, yet his hockey's at this level. He's progressing at an alarming rate, also at the sacrifice of his own life too. But the way Luffy's progressing, to me, he's supposed to be that child. Even if they start off fighting Emu, a group then, I don't think it should be Blackbeard. But to me, Luffy would have wanted to fight them with his trusted comrades. People that he can rely on, like we saw with Sanji, Zoro, all that stuff like that. And also, I think what we're getting in the mural, you talk about Luffy, one of his biggest strengths is uniting people. I think part of Luffy's thing is the reverses with the mural shows that Luffy unites the world against Emu and his kingdom. Whereas it's Emu, the world government, the girls say all of that, that's one kingdom now. Luffy's doing the reverse, where he's uniting everybody, because we saw giants, all this, the whole world, against Emu now. Even though Luffy uniting the world, he's gonna have trusted comrades, all that stuff. Even the Grand Fleet is part of that United Nation of a foreshadowing of Luffy uniting people. What I would want, and I would be kind of upset if we got anything less, it has to be Emu and Luffy at his highest form, one-on-one, and Luffy takes that dub. That's what I want. Him uniting the world and everything, but ultimately, Luffy has to surpass all them and has to fight Emu one-on-one. Luffy's supposed to represent that. If he doesn't, it's a loss.
The thing is, Luffy can fight him one-on-one, and I think that would satisfy most people. I think if you're saying just off rip that Blackbeard just can't fight with Luffy because you want them to fight and have Blackbeard at this point where like the beef is so real with Luffy that he has to earn back what he lost with the death of Ace, that kind of makes no sense to me. Because if I really wanted to put it into perspective, Ace didn't die to Blackbeard. He was being a pirate. He was doing pirate things. And Ace even told Luffy and crew, I am looking for Blackbeard during Alabasta. He gets himself captured. Luffy goes to try to save him. I would say he holds more disgust for a character in Sakazuki, in Akainu. I can say to myself, oh yeah, he's never going to link up with Sakazuki because he actually killed Ace. Whereas with Blackbeard, there's just this rivalry. I don't really comprehend why you guys guys believe that he can't just link up with Blackbeard in order to fight the most evil being for the past almost 3 millennia and has ruled the world and put everything to what it is, especially when people like Dragon exist to take this person out, especially when the Gorosei are under this person, especially when Nefertari Lily's involved and the Fishman revolution is happening. Like, all these things in the world happen because of Emu. Yet Blackbeard holds so much importance, and he was just born 38 years ago on an unfortunate island. So for me, I can see Luffy through narration saying, I can't do this alone. My strength is not going to be enough because that's what Oda has always written. Therefore, I'm going to have to team up the same way people had to team up in order to take Emu down. And if I want to give that final blow, so be it. But it does show he can't do it by himself, bro. Nobody in the series has ever been able to do it by himself. And Luffy has linked up with Caesar Clown.
When? After he beat Caesar's ass. He doesn't link up with these evil dudes unless I beat them down first. Yeah. There is no, you know what? I know it's beef. So, I know my grandpa went to your island and he got done up too. Ace gone because you snaked him and his man.
Okay, so
all that don't matter because the world. Luffy don't think like that.
Okay, everybody's going after whatever they got to go after. Everybody's trying to survive. Meanwhile, Emu is holding the top and he's clearly suppressing people, doing whatever he wants. But I got to go out of my way when the whole world is crashing to fight this guy.
One, I don't know when Luffy versus Blackbeard happens. To me, it's always been going to be the battle for the One Piece. Again, this is my headcanon. I will acknowledge that. Luffy versus Blackbeard needs to happen for the One Piece. The One Piece gets discovered, found. Then Luffy sets his mind and target towards the world government and Emu, etc. Granted, a lot of my thought process is leaning into that. All these revelations with Davy and the Davy clan and Blackbeard and his lineage and rocks, etc. They do put a bit of a wrench in that thought process because now Blackbeard is targeting the world and the throne. But the beef between them needs to be settled before we move on to other things.
But Luffy has more beef with other people.
Who?
Sakazuki.
That's the Marines.
He has more beef with him than he does with Blackbeard. I guarantee you.
One, Akainu was just doing his job.
Is there an excuse for everything?
No,
like,
it's not. It's not an excuse.
God.
But Akainu was doing his job. At the end of the day, he's being an admiral.
Okay, Blackbeard was being a pirate.
No, he betrayed Ace. Even just in general, the types of people Luffy is willing to team up with. Look at the situation with Crocodile and with Caesar. Caesar's out here getting carried around in buckets and controlled by Law with the heart. Like, it's not teaming up.
Put it this way, even if Blackbeard has some relevance in the story, his goal is to become king of the world. Therefore, he wants to fight Emu. So what do you think has to happen, Sebastian? He probably has to take whatever Emu has and put it into himself. But that's the only way that Blackbeard could actually be
my point
what
is,
Luffy has to overcome anyway.
But me and Lawrence's
so
point...
you gotta defeat Emu together.
I don't have an issue with him teaming up to fight Emu with anyone. It shouldn't be Blackbeard. That's my full stop. Y'all want to have Luffy jump Emu with a bunch of folks? That's absolutely fine. Why is Blackbeard being thrust in there just because of the Davy Jones connection? I don't see that.
I mean, Garp and Roger fought Emu. They're on opposing sides.
Roger's willing to leave his kid with Garp.
After God Valley. After God Valley, I guarantee you the relationship becomes much closer. They're literally fighting together for the first time ever.
My Garp and Roger never had that kind of relationship that Luffy and Blackbeard had at any point. There's been no point. They've been fighting each other for years. They've never had that contentious of a relationship.
What's so contentious about it? I do not understand. You capture my brother who is a pirate, doing pirate things. You didn't murk my brother. You literally captured him to become a Shichibukai. Cool.
If that's how you think Luffy looks at it, then we just gotta disagree on that.
Luffy's reaction towards Blackbeard now, even as hearing Blackbeard in the newspaper, Luffy has a reaction where in his mind it is beef. And also too, Luffy reunites the world and Blackbeard does join. To me, I want it to be like Sebastian after the whole clashing out and Luffy wins and beats Blackbeard down. I still don't want it against Emu. I will still want that one-on-one. But not in the final fight. I want Luffy and Emu to settle that dolo.
But the thing is, even before the rivalry started, Luffy already had this weird clinging to his persona, to Blackbeard itself. When they first met and Luffy just listened to him talk about dreams, it didn't scream this tension. It was more like there's something in common between them. And Blackbeard has never done anything out of the ordinary from what any other pirate would do to anybody else.
Just the way Blackbeard moves about his business, Luffy can't respect or rock with dude, period. He can't.
He hasn't been around him enough to know
Honestly,
that.
When we first meet them, the dreams part, it caught Luffy's interest, but they're showing that they fundamentally, they're opposites, so they're clashing off that. Because even if the pie and the juice. And they're about to crash out over that. One liked the juice, one thought the juice was nasty. One liked the pie, one thought the pie was nasty.
Even the point of that is that two pirates go into a bar and they take different actions at every step of the way. One likes this, one likes that. Everything they do from that point to the rest of the series, Luffy does things one way, Blackbeard does things the other way.
Exactly.
So them teaming up to fight Emu, I don't know how he can get there.
So you don't think that there's any crossroad for them? Just fighting each other?
Yes.
That's weak-ass writing.
No, it isn't. No,
The only time these two individuals come together in crossroads is because they need to fight.
They've already crossroads on two different paths already and didn't fight.
And that's weak.
No. Oh, my God.
But you could bring up the same thing with Roger and Rock. The way they go about things is just different. There's narratives that you could put for both sides that it couldn't possibly make sense how Oda writes it. How he saw, like, Rock's getting this crew, but he never tried to get Roger. But the thing is, shows that they just clashed. That's what it was. Luffy's and Blackbeard is different because Blackbeard's fight with Ace led to his death. But Roger and Rock's clashing could be the same as Luffy and Blackbeard clash. They just didn't really click with each other. But if there's an end means of them fighting temporarily for this end boss, because at the end we see they kind of clash with Emu, but then at the end Roger is fighting Emu almost by himself besides a guard. So I'm not saying that something like that's gonna happen, but like there is some parallels to Roger and Rocks and Luffy and Blackbeard. There is. I'm not saying either or. I'm saying both sides I see happening.
I can't see that scene of Luffy and Blackbeard and Impel Down and think that they're not going to fight at some point. But
Yo, you can fight, you could disagree, you could fight, like, you do whatever you want. The story is bigger than the both of them.
the story never going to be bigger than Luffy.
It's
The story right now is working for Luffy, but the story right now is about Emu. And clearly, Oda is showing us, you could be as strong as Joy Boy, you could have the greatest conquerors the sea has seen, you can't do anything. If you think that Blackbeard could just roll up with whatever he has and somehow take advantage of the situation, meanwhile, the whole world is versing Emu, that is ridiculous.
And Mashin, I was going to bring up too. You're acting like they're just going to be a team up. We said multiple times when they're in the mission, Luffy's ready to hook off. Luffy hooked off on Blackbeard during Impel Down. Remember, even at Whole Cake when they're having the meeting, Luffy tried to hook off on Paige. Like, Lily, you act like they're not gonna. They could still fight each other for a little bit. Most likely, somebody's gonna stop them from actually continuing to fight, and they're gonna settle later on. Because we see that other times. Like they fight. Luffy can say, "I'm gonna fight you later on" or whatever. I don't know, but like we see, Luffy's already on gas. First sight, I'm hooking off. That has happened multiple times. Somebody always intervened to stop the continual fight.
It's literally gonna be this: the enemy of my enemy is also my friend, and that's what's gonna happen. They're gonna be like, "Yo, we're gonna fight, yo, we fight," and then all of a sudden, Emu pulls up, and then Blackbeard's like, "All right, like, how about we hold off on this?" And then they're gonna fight together against that because it's a greater threat. It happens in the real world all the time. If aliens was to come down to Earth right now and they want to murk all of us, and the opposition across the world is like, "Yo, we need to link up," like they're about to murk us. We're not gonna exist. Our beef is not gonna exist anyway. So we need to do something together in order to fight this. And guess what happens? We link up and then we fight the kaiju. Like, that's what happens, bro.
That's the movie Independence Day.
It's Independence Day. You're right.
Thank you, Marv. It's different. And I don't like it. I didn't really watch the show, but Game of Thrones.
I was also gonna say, in all fiction, by the end of the story, there usually is a point where you have to team up with your enemy, and it's usually the most suspenseful, best part of it. Like when Magneto and Xavier have to come together to fight like Apocalypse, or when
Y'all got Marv on this, bro.
Yeah, I just think it helps the story. Like they can still beef and not like each other, but know that there's just a huge threat out there. They have to come together.
This is the biggest problem that I have with what y'all are saying. All them weak ass MCs ain't Luffy.
Oh my god.
All of them.
You mean the same main character?
They ain't Luffy.
The same main character that usually loses 2 to 3 times before he defeats his enemy, right?
It don't matter.
Right,
they ain't Luffy.
Right. They not Luffy. Like, I know we don't get on Luffy all the time because he goes through the mud and then he earns it, but there's a lot of times where the boy just ends up just getting bodied before he actually defeats the enemy. So, like, even if he versus Emu himself, I guarantee you he's gonna lose like 2 times.
Fine.
Blackbeard, help out!
No.
The real question is, does history repeat himself, and does Blackbeard get Diamond Reversing? That's the real
I didn't think of that.
I need Luffy versus Blackbeard.
I keep saying it too, and this is gonna work kind of in Sebastian's favor because Sebastian also too. This is like Sebastian's agenda. I don't see it happening. I don't like it, especially too if Blackbeard is the one that takes out Shanks. That team up is probably never gonna happen.
Put it this way. Please.
Put it
this way. I truly believe this is Blackbeard's trajectory. He's gonna go after the king of the world. Him and Luffy are going to team up and they're going to defeat Emu. And what's going to happen is that he's going to become the next Emu that Luffy has to defeat. That's where I see his story going. Because one, it takes over the revenge aspect because what Emu did to God Valley, but also it just suits his plan of becoming king of the world. Because necessarily his dream is not to find the One Piece. That's how Blackbeard becomes the almighty that we hope he becomes, like the final villain. If he is to be the final villain, he has to somehow take on whatever Emu was.
I think he wants the One Piece and the King seat. I feel like he's that greedy.
Yeah.
I gotta finish the rest of my point.
Damn, man.